Hello, and we're live. And welcome to everybody watching on the Things Network in the US. Good afternoon. And to people in the UK, Paranormal Path, or wherever you are. Hope you're all well. So tonight it's me and Lois. How are you doing, Lois?
Hello, how are you doing, everyone? Hello, Jolene.
Hi.
And we have a special guest tonight, Jolene Jackson Lockwood. Yay!
That is
bless
much
you,
better
ladies.
than
Thank you
Jolene.
so
Can you
much.
say that?
So Jolene's a psychic medium. So as the show always starts, where did it all start for you then with the sort of spiritual or the paranormal sort of field? What happened to make you think that something else was out there?
To be honest, I've never been right, as you well know, Jackie. No, seriously, I think I was about 2 when my mum caught me playing with an imaginary friend, but it wasn't actually imaginary. It was my grandmother, and she sadly passed away a week before my first birthday. So I was sat making tea with her, and I was talking to her, and my mum asked me who I was talking to, and I said grandma. And I think it was about a year later, and she started to ask me questions about her, which was really strange because there were questions that I would never have known. My grandmother lost both her legs when she was alive, so I said she'd got her legs back, and that obviously was validation to my mum. And then I went to infant school. This is just like a condensed version. I hope you don't mind.
No, it's
I went
fine.
to infant school, and I was sat on the floor in the hallway, and I watched my headmistress, Miss Wilson, she was called at the time, lovely petite little thing, and she had all these colours behind her and all these like bright lights, and like it was like a vapor trail, and I just went, oh, that's so pretty. And that was it then. It was just like I used to see things, I used to hear things, and like even today, I've been upstairs in the bedroom and literally just had somebody go, Joe. I was like, not now, I'm busy.
Oh wow.
But yeah, so that kind of happened. And then I kind of went through my infant school years being not a loner. I had like 3 really close friends, Anna, Katie, and Jessica, and they were all from like different backgrounds to me. And I used to always know that I was different. And then my mum had a big car accident when I was 10, so everything stopped. I didn't have anything for about 3 years. So I was a little bit apprehensive. I started to get a little bit more withdrawn. And bearing in mind at 10, I was just gearing up to go to high school, which was one of my main fears, going to a huge school. And I wasn't socially awkward, so to speak, but I was more socially aware of the people. But what happened was, I think I was about 13, and we were going into our photography class. Me and another girl called Pippa, who I'm still friends with to this day. And I just remember her grabbing hold of my hand, and she said, "Oh my God, look at that! Look at that! That's a nun down the hallway." And that's typical Yorkshire coming out there, isn't it?
Oh,
And I looked, and what I saw was this lady, and she was dressed in a long white gown, what I now know to be the apron, and obviously the skirt and everything, and this huge headdress, and she looked like a nun, but in fact she was a nurse. And sort of like looked at us. All the doors were open down this historic corridor, which was part of like a quadrant of not greenhouses, because it used to be like a big house back in the day. We did my old school. And we stood there and looked at her for a couple of seconds, and she just literally looked, and she turned and she just walked into the girls' toilets. And we walked into photography, and Mr. Harris stood there and looked at us, and he said, "Oh, you look like you've seen a ghost, girls." And I went, "We have." And then I was up there, and it all kind of started to come flooding back. And then my mum and dad had bought a bungalow, and I just remember walking into the bedroom, and I was unpacking some of my things in my bedroom because my dad had decorated it all before we'd moved in. And I remember just putting this, I used to have like an old porcelain baby doll thing. And this is mad how I still remember this. And I put it on top of the TV, and it was perfect. And then it fell off. And as it fell off, I looked, and there was a woman stood in the middle of my TV, and she was about 5'2", and she was speaking in this foreign language, and I couldn't understand her. And I walked out of my bedroom, and I went, I didn't just see that. And I walked back in, stood there and looked straight at her again. And she just carried on telling me all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know what you're saying. Walked in to see my mum, who was sat in the living room, and she went, what's wrong? And I was like, I've got some strange woman in my bedroom telling me something in a foreign language. And she went, what's she saying? And I said, all I can make out is shellac. And I said, and it's like a G name. And she said, oh yeah, that's the family who we bought the house from. And my mum was so excited. And I went, this is a bit weird, this. And she said, oh yeah, that lady died in your bedroom. So I was
Oh my
like,
God.
Oh, wow.
so we just, it kind of spiraled from there, really. And then I think 16, I kind of carried on to use it and went to the spiritualist churches and started to develop a little bit more. And then 18, boys happen, you start going drinking and you kind of lose it all. And then you go away and you come back, get married, have children, and you know, you don't use it, and then you get divorced, and then bang, it's just there all of a sudden again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is amazing. It is. And I'm, you know, sometimes people always say to me, you're so lucky. But then I sit there and say, well, I am lucky, but I'm also cursed, because you see things that you don't really want to see, you know, like car accidents and things like that, or who've taken their own lives and things. They show you things that, you know, you're not meant to see, really.
Yeah, I was actually asked at the beginning of my development, you know, are you sure you want to do this? Well, I didn't believe in it. I thought it was a load of rubbish. And I've come on loads since I last met you. I can speak to them and see them and stuff. Not physically see them physically, but I can see them in my mind's eye. And, you know, yeah, I'll do this. But once you step on this route, it's mad. And you are shown things. And sometimes you see things and you think, I don't want to see this. But this is what you've agreed to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they're showing you this story and oh dear.
And when you work with spirit, something always happens that is out of your comfort zone as well. And some things that you think, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And it's kind of like, you know, like I said today, I've heard, and it's like, oh, okay, I know there's a male and a female in this house where I am. So I do know that already. But the fact is, as soon as I walked into this house, she went, hello, dear. And it was like, oh, hello. And then she said, welcome home to me. And it was quite touching, was that. So that was nice.
That's lovely. A quick shout out then. We've got Sarah Edwards watching, Robert Rye, hi. Yvonne Hunter, Von Hunter. Should get your name right, shouldn't I? Sandra Gregory Hatton, John Penn, Jessie Ann, how are you doing? Yeah, so it's just amazing that you've always done this, but were there times when you were scared?
Oh yeah, there's loads of times when I'm scared. You know, there's certain, like, I have the most vivid dreams, like really random dreams that I think, is that spirit coming through and telling me what's going to happen? Because if it is, I don't want it. So it's, I don't know. I'll tell you one of these dreams that I've had. It's so random. You'll think, oh my God, she's absolutely nuts, but I'm not. I woke up in the middle of the night and I said to Mark, I said, oh, I've just had this horrible dream. And he said, why, what's wrong? And I said, I'm on a train, like an old steam train, like a bit like the Hogwarts Express. I said, I jump on the train and I'm in futuristic clothing. Everything on the inside of this train is futuristic. You know, they're looking at things, they're taking readings of everything, they're tracking things. And I was like, this is weird, this is. And I couldn't get the year because I tried to see how much, where the year was, but I couldn't find it. And then I jumped off the train and I was in like 1800s clothing. It was around about 1886. That's what the year it was. And I could see people as clear as day going about their business. We were by a canal, which was even more strange because you never get a railway over a canal. So there was like a small canal area next door to the train station. And then I was like, this is so weird. But then all of a sudden I turned round and I could see what only describe as beings from somewhere else. And I stood there and looked and I had to run and literally I jumped back on the train and that was it. The train was gone. And that's when I woke up and I was like, this is really random. And I probably sound like I need to be in a nut house right now.
The
You
thing
know
is
that I'm a firm believer, like with dreams. Like I'm fascinated with the whole dream. See some of the dreams that I have, I wouldn't even go and tell people because I'm like, they would think honestly. But they always say that you dream. If you see somebody in your dream, you've either met them in this life, you're going to meet them, or you've met them in a past life.
Yeah.
And there is people that I've met on Facebook or I've seen in Facebook. I've seen your face where, and then it's occurred to me right now, going back to a dream that I've had. Then dreams are wonderful things, absolutely wonderful things, and very very fascinating. I love it.
it is brilliant. I've had one or two, but not many sort of like crazy. Well, I've had crazy ones, but I think the worst was when I did an investigation, and then I had a really colourful night with dreams, crazy dreams all night. And then in the morning, I woke up and I had to draw a figure. So basically, it was the skull of a cow or something, and it had horns coming out underneath. And it's like three point, point, and point. And
That's
I've,
mad that because I've been
um,
reading the history of witchcraft book,
yes,
and it's actually heavily documented in there, isn't it, about the three horns and about about sacrificial offerings for witchcraft and things.
yeah. But I'd sort of that night I'd been overshadowed by this guy who's supposedly a vicar stroke priest or something. But he wasn't ordained, I don't think. I think he just pretended. And I even picked up on witchcraft around there. And then that night, oh, it's horrendous. It really was. The sort of information I was getting, and yeah, that drawing, I had to draw it, and then I had to contact Ben Winfield to find out what it was,
Oh,
because you search for things on the internet, and anything on the dark side, you can't find it, not easily.
no,
Yeah,
you
so
can't.
it's a
They don't
nightmare.
like to publicize the dark stuff, though, do they? So
No, it's terrible. You just hide it, and sometimes you have got these questions, but luckily Ben's great, so he will
Yes.
help us on things. So yeah, right. I've got this is from Vaughn. She has premonition dreams. Feel they come on for a reason. Usually, oh, for a reason. Luckily, the ones that come true. I've only had one bad one that came true with a small aircraft incident. Ooh,
yeah, prophecy dreams usually happen. They don't happen to me very often. Don't get me wrong. I dreamt I won the lottery about 4 years ago. That still hasn't happened, so I can still keep
oh.
wishing.
But did you get some money?
No,
Did you get some extra money coming in?
I'm not bothered about money. I just want to be happy. That's all.
Yeah,
That
but maybe I just want happiness and health. But I wonder by winning the lottery if you had like a little bit of cash coming in, which you weren't expecting.
yeah. I don't think I did, to be honest. But no, I dream of places where I've been, but I don't know I've been. If you understand that.
Yeah,
Like some of the places that Mark's taken me to around the Welsh coast, I feel like I've been there before. And I'll look at places and I'll think, oh, I recognize this. But my family's Welsh, so it could be somebody else giving me that impression, from my family from years ago. So I don't know. I do believe that there are prophecies within our dreams. I do believe that.
yeah. All right, I've got one or two questions. I believe this one's from Vaughn then. Do you think spirits know that you can hear, see them, whereas the majority of us can't? Do they kind of get drawn to you? What do you think?
Yeah, I do think that they can hear us because otherwise I wouldn't be able to give messages about what people have been speaking about in their kitchen, a few days previous and things like that. So they do walk amongst us and they do listen to conversations. Most people sit there and say to me, "Do they watch me in the shower?" And it's kind of like, well, there's no kind of boundary for them. So if they're that way inclined, then they probably will, but I don't think they do. But conversations, yes, for sure. Visitation, looking about what the family's doing, about what's going on around the family. I do believe that they are around us all the time.
Yeah. It is worrying, this shower situation, though, isn't it? So I mentioned it in my book, like, do they watch you in the shower? And it's like, oh my God.
Listen, if they had to watch me in the shower, they would be running and they would never ever come back.
I
So,
say,
that there's absolutely no worry about it happening to me.
Oh dear.
Can't you go watch telly downstairs or something? It's more interesting.
But yeah, it is funny. It was funny because I think when I moved into my first house, when I moved back to Wakefield, I saw a medium then, and she actually said to me, "You've had this for a long time." And she started to detail somebody who I knew whilst I was a teenager, but sadly he took his own life. And she told me about his wife, and she told me about him, and she told me about loads of other things. But there was one thing that she told me that nobody, she could never have known. And I used to work behind the bar in my mum and dad's pub because they owned a pub at the time. And he used to come in and he used to say, "So when are we getting married, Joe?" And I used to say to him, "The 15th of December, 2079. And he used to say, "Why is that?" And I went, "Because I'll be dead by then." And we used to have a giggle about it. And it was one of them funny things. But then she kept saying to me, "Why is the 15th of December, 2079 significant?" And that's obviously then I knew exactly who it was. But yeah, she said to me, "Oh yeah, he watches you in the shower." And I went, "Oh my God, no."
Oh, it's just too much, isn't it?
Yeah. No.
We've got comment here. The dark side sometimes shows the light's darkness. Not everyone likes that.
No, they don't. And it's like any kind of, even if you're a light worker, you're interested in the occult, you're interested in, Aleister Crowley, everything to do with, demonology and things, that we all get some form of light from the darkness. And I do believe in that massively. And I believe you have to, I believe you have to experience the darkness as well in order to understand what is positive and what is right. And you should always question spirit as well, rather than just accepting what they think they are.
Yeah, that's it. We've had some sort of come through on a board and they're just not, it's not who they say they are. And, they'll be there saying stuff and I'll go, "No, you're wrong." And I'll call them out. And it's a bit odd, really, but I just know when they're lying somehow. But then I'll ask a question which was mixed up from one I've asked previously to trick them, and very often they'll fall down that trap. But yeah, it's interesting.
I think an awful lot of people are scared to ask them, though. That's the thing. They're scared to find out whether it is actually somebody who's very like positive or anything like that. They are scared to ask.
Yeah, that's right. I've got a question here. Do you think that when you are at your most vulnerable, spirits are more likely to show themselves to you?
Yes. Mark's going to hate me for telling you this, but we kind of tend to go to bed quite early, so like probably around about 10, half 10ish.
Yeah.
And I've literally sat there and looked at the corner of the room when the light's quite dim, and I've gone, "Oh my God, have you seen that?" And he'll go, "What?" And I'll frighten him, and he's like, and I just said to him, "Oh, I've just seen this thing that looks like," and the only way I can describe it is it looked like crystallized water, like molten metal in the air, and it was just literally like this. It was just, and I just went, "Oh my God," and literally just disappeared into thin air. As soon as I acknowledged it, it just disappeared.
Wow.
And I was like, but it happened again at the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre, and I was with Claire Barrand. And,
right, she's lovely.
Oh, she's so lovely. And literally, I stood there and we were doing an investigation. We were setting up the equipment. We were putting an EVP in the wheelchair. And then all of a sudden, Claire looks at me and I'm looking down. There was a table in the middle of the room and it had this jug on it. And I looked at this table and I mentioned this little girl who'd been wandering around. And then all of a sudden, I just went, and literally Claire followed my eyes and she went, "What have you just seen?" And I went, "Did you not see it?" She was like, "No." I was like, it was like, the only way I can describe it was like water ripples, and it was like moving like fish scales. And that's the only way I can describe it. And it was probably, I stood there and I was like, if you ask Neil Packer, I was literally jumping. I was like, "Oh my God, did you see that? Did you see that?" And it was so excitable.
You've seen one of the creatures.
Say that again.
You've seen one of the creatures.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of things there in the Haunted Antiques Museum. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the seance room was probably the best I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
Eloise in Detroit as well.
I've never seen these creatures, but I'm aware of them, and I've even heard them because there's a particular seance where our stomachs were rumbling, which wasn't so much natural, really. It was a bit too much. But then at the same time, something else sounded like its stomach was rumbling, and it wasn't us. So it was communicating with us by stomach noises.
Oh gosh.
And there's a guy I was on a team with called Daniel Hopkins, and we're there. And he went in, he sat down, he started freaking out. In his face was a picture. And he's like looking at his feet, going, what are them? You know? And the creature's like running around under his feet. And it's just like, it was going crazy. It's just too funny. And I like it when people see them who weren't aware of them. Whereas I've only experienced people mentioning them. And I've experienced strange things happening because of them. But I've never seen one.
Yeah, I think the seance room was madness because the things that we heard on the EVP and the voices that I heard in my ear, as well as the things that were happening throughout the room at the same time, I just could not, nobody could physically explain it. It was like three things happening all at once. And because there was three people in there, I kind of put it down to the number of three and things. And it was just, honestly, it was just phenomenal.
Yeah. But it's so changed since you've been.
I know, he's changed everything, hasn't he?
Yeah, I've been since the changes. Absolutely mad. Oh, there's so many rooms you don't have time to look at all of them anymore.
Well, it's funny because I won Jen Colt, who's part of Witch of the Willows. I won their box to go and be with Haunted Live guys at the Haunted Antiques Museum. So
Wow.
we've not arranged that as of yet. So I need to go.
Oh yeah, you definitely need to go.
Definitely.
Yeah, it is brilliant. Yeah.
Jolene, have you ever experienced getting into a room and obviously like picking up information and getting the whole, the hair standing up in the back of the neck scenario? It's like one of those ones. I mean, it's happened to me, and I get the hair standing up behind the neck and the whole, it's like somebody's just like went like that down my spine. It's just dead. Oh, what's your best experience of that?
Stirling Castle, actually. Mark and I went to Stirling Castle one weekend, and we walked in, and literally you sort of like walk through the main entrance, and then you come into like a bit of a corridor. And the first room we went into, and I think I remember saying to Mark, I was like, oh, I didn't like it in the air. I said, there's a gentleman called William here. And as soon as we walked in, the actress said, now this is the office of William somebody or other, and I couldn't remember it. And I just went, and I looked at him, and he was like, oh, this is going to be really good.
I've never been to Stirling Castle. I've had the pleasure of being in Stirling Jail a couple of times. Another good place that I did go to was Barony Castle. And in Barony Castle, we did a walk around and things like that. And there was just this corridor I refused point blank to go down because my anxiety just went right through the ceiling, and I was like, that, no, I'm just not willing to go down here. My team leader's like, why not? I said, well, something's happened down this corridor. And he's like, well, go down the corridor and point where you feel something's happened.
Yeah.
And I went down the corridor, and I stood in between two doors and went, either that one or that one. I said, definitely something's happened. And it turned out there was a fire in there that killed a woman and her children.
Wow.
Oh God.
And I just refused to go down. I just felt like I couldn't breathe. The more further I was going down, the more I couldn't breathe. And it was just like one of the moments that you think to yourself, oh wow, where's this coming from?
I think when you get people, they put the impressions on you that they've experienced. That is amazing anyway, because I think being empathic as well, you do tend to feel other people's pain. So you walk into rooms and you know instantly who's not happy with somebody or things like that. But how spirit kind of put that onto people just amazes me still to this day.
I was a bit margy the other night. I went into a room and they've got haunted doll in a case, and they open the case and they're trying to communicate with it, called William. I picked up on this dirty old man, and he was horrendous, and described him and everything. And I don't know if he's attached to the doll, but I don't think. Yeah, I think it's something to do with the doll, but I wasn't quite sure. No one else picked him up, and they haven't picked him up yet in that location, so we'll see. But I sort of said that it was reacting to a device, and you know it's working, the Alice box, and it's actually coming out with some really good answers, which were they seem right. You know what was being said was spot on, and they're saying the same words and the right names for the place as well. So that it looked really good information what was coming through, and I just knew they wouldn't say another word. So I said I've got to leave this room now because they're not going to say another word with me. The minute I walked out, that was it. They started again.
It's madness though that you say that, because there are in Ruthin jail there is a gentleman who takes a bit of a fondness to the ladies in there, and you know people have reported being kissed on the lips, being touched on their back, the small of their back, their legs, and things like that. And it's, you know, things like that, you've got your boundaries in normal everyday life. They should respect those boundaries in death as well, I think. But sometimes
but they get away with it. Like, oh no.
I think also bearing in mind when you're in the jail, some of the things like they say, the way they talk, that's like part and parcel of what their life was in the inside. Because you know I've been, as I said, still in jail. I've been in, and some of the things that were coming across the EVP, just you couldn't make that up because it was their language that they spoke and the way they spoke, and I think. I don't know about you, Jolene, or what your opinions are, but like I think when it comes to the whole spirit world, I think that we're ghosts to them as much as what they're ghosts to us. So it's more or less is what I call it is the glass figure, the glass that you can have one way where you can see it, but no one can see in. And if you're on the other side, vice versa. And I think that's pretty much what the spirit world is.
I think it's very similar to that film, isn't it? You know, what's it called, with Nicole Kidman in there?
I know exactly what one you're talking about. Oh God, I seen this at school too.
Yeah, and it's a bit like the haunting of Hill House as well, isn't it? It's very similar to that as well. So I do believe, and I'm saying this now as myself, it's really strange I'm saying this, but I believe that the reason why I can do what I can do is because of time. I think there's time travel. I think we can step back in time, and we do have those people can communicate with us from years gone by. And that's kind of, I like to decipher it like that. If people ask me, or how do you do this? And I'm like, okay, how do I explain this to a rational person, how you know things about people?
I'm feeling that because I had a reading from Barry John, and he's like picked up on things in the future. So I thought, well, if he's communicating with my mum, how would she know unless she can go to the future to then come back and tell me?
Yeah. And it's funny because I work exactly the same way as Barry. So we're both clairvoyant mediums. So it's always when you see things and you see things, like I always say to people, this is probably going to happen in a roundabout, and they'll show me things. And I remember giving one reading to a young lady, and I said, oh, there's some legal paperwork coming. I said, but I see you being inside a court for some reason. She was like, no, that's not me. And I said, please just take it with you. I said, because that's what they're showing me and they don't lie. And she literally, I think it was about 6 weeks later, she phoned me and she was like, you're never going to believe this. She said something that I thought was, you know, never ever going to go to court that happened 3 years ago. I've had 2 policemen on my doorstep today giving me a court summons because it's going to court now after 3 years. And I'd forgotten about it. And it was like, okay. So yeah, it's things like that you got no idea. But yeah, The Others is the film as well, and it's
Yeah, I've just seen it.
We've got a question from Robert Riley. So he'll be coming to Scotland next year doing a 6-week mini course in parapsychology at university in Glasgow and also in Edinburgh while he's there.
wants to go to
Any suggestions places to go around Glasgow and Edinburgh?
Edinburgh, definitely the vaults in Edinburgh. The vaults are amazing there.
It's at Edinburgh Castle as well.
Yeah, Edinburgh Castle, Stirling Jail, Stirling Castle.
You've got the Glasgow Nicopolis.
Yeah.
You've got loads of places. What I'll do, Robert, is I have got you on Facebook. What I'll do is I'll drop you links to places where to go. Definitely, if that helps you.
It's brilliant because there are castles around which you can go around, and like I'm in a sort of a built-up area, so if I go somewhere, like everyone else is going to be there. But the thing is, in Scotland, you can go to a castle and no one's going to turn up. There's going to be no like people messing around drinking there or anything, and it's really kind of safe to sort of go out and about. But here, no, I don't think so. Hi, Mark Reynolds. So I like this comment by Wes Coleman. This was Wes.
I didn't want to say anything, Wes, but what can I say?
This person went. This is Vaughn. She went to Little Dean Jail. Doesn't mind walking around about anywhere, especially if not alone. But one of the corridors was a metal black staircase. Could not go up it. But there's times where you want to step forward and you kind of feel something's holding you back, don't you? What do you think's doing that? Why are you being held back, do you think?
Could be anything. It could be your own apprehension or your own anxiousness about the vicinity of the place, or it could be just residual energy that's still left behind, which basically says you're not coming up here. We don't want you up here. But only certain people will be able to have that. So it's that I believe if you've got a negative feeling about somewhere where they don't want you to go up, then listen to your gut instinct.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've got AJ Walker listening as well. AJ's going to be visiting Scotland this year.
Oh, yay!
So, hi, Pete Foxtrot Oscar. Manage that name with that one. Yeah. So, oh, hi, Raymond. Got Raymond Mars watching as well. Oh. So, you've just been you're in Wales now and you're sort of travelling around a lot, aren't you? You're enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do quite a lot of events anyway on a weekend, and been a few places. I've been dragging Mark along because he's not very paranormally minded, but he comes along and he's a skeptic that kind of keeps me grounded, which is really good. But on the opposite hand, I've started to branch out more into the psychic dinners and doing events that way. So I've got one coming up actually next week, which is on a Friday evening, the 21st of January in Wrexham. So that's a 3-course dinner and an evening of mediumship with my good friend, Mr. Gary Fields.
He's awesome. I love Gary.
Yeah, so Gary and I have been working quite closely together recently, which is really good because I always call Gary my dad anyway. He'll hate me for saying
it. He's awesome, but he works in such a different way from any medium I've ever met.
Yeah, and we kind of we bounce off each other, so it's good how it works. We know when to kick in and when not to, so it's really, really good. And yeah, we've done a few events together now, but I think we've got another one in March coming up as well, which is in Huddersfield, which is in West Yorkshire, which is my hometown. So that's a big one. Is that one that's in a stadium? So I'm a bit worried about that. Well, I wouldn't say worried, and I'm it's everything's always bigger when it's your hometown and things like that. But yeah, there's lots more in the pipeline, so it's So, somebody's just said in Bangor from the 27th to the 13th
Yes,
of January.
Raymond's actually in Malta at the moment. I just found that comment. There's comments coming through on 3 different mediums, but I can't. But I'm looking at one channel and it's going off on 2 others, and a lot of them are coming up Facebook
It's only
users.
showing
I'm
me
just
so
trying to work
much
out
comments.
but it's Raymond Miles in Bangor from the 27th to 30th of January. Is there anything going on?
It would have been good actually, Raymond, if you'd have come to Wrexham on the 21st, because that's it's a good night, and tickets have sold really well as well. So I think I've only got about 4 tickets left now. So that's really good. But the food is amazing. The food is to die for, and the Huddersfield event as well. The food is spot on. So it'll be really nice.
Yeah, first time. Well, I don't know if it was one of the first times I met you was at Coombe Abbey.
Yes.
And we're just in the bar and just having a drink in between different speakers. And all of a sudden, Jolene was getting hassled by this lady. And this lady basically said to Jolene that I was due to have something done there to remind me of her. And it shouldn't happen. If I want to remember my mum, I should look at a photo of her, rather than I actually had booked 6 months prior to have a tattoo at the Paranormal at Sage. So I was due to have the appointment. I booked it, I paid for it and everything. But my mum was telling Jolene, "Oh, don't let her do it, don't whatever." Well, it so happened that the appointment got cancelled because the lady all of a sudden went home. So something happened and the lady just went. So she didn't do any tattoos. The appointment got cancelled. I don't have a tattoo now. And also,
through, wasn't it?
And she sort of said it was one for her as well, and a symbol for her, and it's a butterfly. And I think you came out with that information as well. And also, the lady also at the Paracon, I had a reading with her. The lady from Cornwall you've mentioned. She said the same thing.
Oh, dear.
So my mum told 2 mediums that I shouldn't have a tattoo, which turned out
she's telling you what to do, and she's still around, so she still knows what you're doing.
But I kind of wonder if mum caused the issue, which is why the person went home. Because there's no way, I was set for this tattoo. I wanted a tattoo. I decided I'd waited 6 months. I'd chosen the design and everything. Oh, and then something happens, and this woman goes. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's just fate.
It's odd, isn't it? And for mum to tell 2 people, "Oh, right, that's mad."
Yeah,
it's either that or your mum broke the tattooist's machinery, so they had to go.
Yeah, well, my mum might have influenced. I think Jolene might have known what happened, but we're not going to go into that. But yeah. So I've got a question here from Mark Reynolds. Who would you like to speak to from the past, any era?
I know most people sit there and say famous people and things like that, but I would love to speak to my great-great-grandfather, who was the master huntsman of the Patterdale clan from the Lake District, and he's currently buried in the churchyard in Penrith. And I would love to speak to him about, obviously being the huntsman. There's books written after him. There's a song sung about him in America, and honestly, I think the conversations that I'd probably have with him would be all about history from back in, early 1900s, and it'd be so amazing.
I wonder if there's a link then. That is so drawn to this person.
I think, I don't know, he's my real dad's, he's my real dad's great grandfather. So,
right, okay.
But I've had this affinity with, it's really strange because I love Wales anyway, and obviously I live here now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I enjoy South Wales. My great grandmother,
I like Gower,
hail from Wales, from Tenby, so I've got an affinity with Wales anyway. but I've also got an affinity with the Lake District. So I don't know whether it's just all bodies of water, mountains, anything like that, where I just feel so at home with, you know, just literally just, if I feel stressed, I'll just go out and just sit by, you know, any sort of water or mountain, and I'm just literally instantly like, oh, this is so nice.
Yeah. I've got a question then from Charles Rudd. Okay, throat's going dodgy. You ladies are awesome. Oh, thanks very much.
Thank you.
A question. I like to investigate alone. Do you have any advice for me?
Just make sure that you're protected at all times, especially being yourself. It's different when you're, I'm not saying it's much different you being in a group, but when you're yourself, you need that, obviously, that extra protection, and always let somebody know where you are, just in heaven forbid.
Just for safety reasons, really, just let somebody know where you are at all times and give a rough estimate of what time you're going to be back, and you know what you've got with you. Make sure you've always got charge in your phone so you can call somebody if you do get into any difficulties.
And take about 100 torchlights with you, because my torchlights are murder for going out. And I find that if you have got a spirit round about you, the first thing in the day is drain all your equipment. So, like, when the torchlight doesn't work on site, but works when you're halfway down the road. That's pretty much that. But always make sure you're safe.
Yeah, make sure that people know that, you know, you can text them to say you're home if they're asleep or not. So that, you know, if they could check up in the morning, make sure you are there. Because you don't know, do you? Because you do end up in some dark locations and you could fall or anything, couldn't you? Like down steps, down wells, anything. You just don't know when you're out and about. I've got a lovely question here from Wes Coleman. So this is for Jolene. Do you find it harder to read men or women, or does it matter?
It doesn't
Just
matter.
wondering, yes, we're all wired differently. My reading's rubbish tonight.
Sorry, I'm laughing at just the way Wes wrote the ending of that sentence.
I read it, it's weird.
Yeah, you are all wired differently. I do tend to appreciate that, but I did an event not long ago actually, and a guy had come with his girlfriend. Bearing in mind, usually at my events they are predominantly women. Some gentlemen do come along as well, but he was mocking me more than anything, and it was quite strange because I gave him a message from his grandfather, and he was trying to say, no, it's not my grandfather. And the girl actually confirmed it. And she said, that's right, what she's just said. And it was kind of, I proved a point to him. I think that's what it was. He was kind of saying, oh, it's not right. This isn't right. And then when you prove that point to him, he was like, he was a bit of an idiot, to be fair. But it's, you know, you get them all the time. You know, you get females who you know, like to be closed off or sit there and think being poker face, you're not going to know anything, when, you know, that just spurs spirit on even more to give you more information. There's no getting away from it. You know, if there is somebody there for you, there is somebody there for you.
That's Robert. Thanks for that, Robert Ray.
Thank you.
We've got the Haunted Scouse. Hiya, hope you're well. Yay. And we've got Chris Sanders as well. Thanks for joining us, everyone. So if you've got any questions for Jolene, if you put them in the comments, I'll try and ask them.
I saw one earlier from Nicole Tattersdale, and she said, do spirits age? Now, they do age, actually, because sometimes if somebody's passed away as a child, they'll show me as they've passed away as a child, but they actually show me as they are now, in the here and now as well. So they do grow up, and they do, you know, they do show you different things throughout their life of what they're doing in the spirit world, because, you know, life is endless, isn't it? You know, it's not, it just doesn't stop when we've passed away.
Yeah, I had a thing where I picked up a young child, a young daughter of a person. And it turned out that she'd lost a baby. And I got this little young girl, and it's
madness, because they come through at the age that they would be now. So that's how they do it, to recognize to the person when you're reading for them, is basically, you know, this would have been about 5 years ago, and that's what they do. So
Yeah, it was a new thing for me, and it's a bit awkward as well. And that's how I find it difficult to read for people. And that's why I'm happy sort of going to a location, speaking to spirits, but to actually speak to a person and give a reading, it's emotional, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done a fair few emotional ones, and I think recently I kind of switched off that kind of heart emotion and things, and now I just say what I see as like catchphrase now. But yeah, it is quite emotional sometimes, especially when you're not expecting it either. When something's happened in tragic circumstances, and it's like, it's I don't want to see that and I don't want to feel that, but then they show you the nice things, so it's harrowing, but it's comforting at the same time.
Yeah. Do you tend to forget your readings a bit?
Say that again, sorry.
Can you sort of give a reading and then it go, or do you remember it much afterwards?
No, I don't really remember readings that much, to be honest.
That's
I
good.
mean, obviously, like we've spoken tonight about your mum, and I was like, oh, I don't remember what I said.
Yeah, that's right.
And then there's certain things like I'll remember certain bits of people's readings, but they're only the ones where it's been one of those wow moments for me kind of thing. Whereas, where were we? We were in Wrexham, and I remember just being sat on the dinner table, and I said to a lady, and I went, "Ooh, do you sew?" And she just looked at me, and I went, "Have you got a sewing machine? You've got a sewing machine, haven't you?" And I said, "This gentleman's just come through now, and he's got a maroon. He's showing me a maroon car, and he's talking about a Nissan or a Montego." And I went, "Montego," and he had to write it out for me. And it's things like that I look and I go, "Okay," and I sit there and write it down really quick, and I'm like,
Oh wow.
and it's things that I remember like that I always sticks in my head. And when people have messaged me like a couple of months later and said, this has happened, you're so spot on. And it's when you've given that comfort to somebody as well. I thrive on that. That is, one of my passions is helping people to not overcome their grief, but to kind of be aware that those people are still around, that they are listening to them, even though they're not here in the physical, they're still around us and they still walk amongst us.
Yeah, it does help. It really does. It's part of the route I've taken because of grief, really. So yeah. Nicole, she found it interesting what you said. Do spirits ever show as their younger self too?
Yes. Yeah, I think they do. And what they do is they tend to do it as memories. So when I see a memory of a person, they'll show me photographs and who they're stood with. They'll show me inside of properties, so remote viewing, things like that. It was really funny because a woman from work said to me, "Oh, can you help me?" And I work with Nicole actually, but she works in Surrey, and I obviously live in North Wales, so we've never really had the chance to kind of all get together and do like these proper readings. But I just remember saying to one lady, "You will find it inside this cabinet, and it's like a drinks cabinet but folds up." And I said, "It's down the back. You're going to need to take something off to be able to get to it." And she was like, "Right, okay, I know what you're saying. I know where that is." And that's just when you get things like that, it's like, oh my God.
Got a question from Robert there. Robert Rahe. So many people here in the US believe that there are so many witches in the UK. Have you ever experienced a witch when you're at any location?
I am a witch with a capital B. No, I'm joking. No. My mum's a witch, so I'm very humble. My mum's a nature witch. She can grow absolutely anything. She just touches it and it grows. And I've always been in awe of my mum, and that's probably why I am like I am. And my grandmother was the same as me. My great grandmother was the same as me. So it kind of goes through the long line of females within our family. But witches in general, there are an awful lot of witches who don't when we talk of witches, we automatically think of people stood around a cauldron casting dark spells. You know, they don't think about the good witches and, you know, the people who like to do the spells for positive purposes. And I know some witches, and they're all really lovely, and, you know, my mum's lovely.
Yeah,
So,
that's
but yeah, I've experienced a witch at Drakelow Tunnels. Well, a couple of them actually.
Isn't she quite nasty?
She's not the one that I encountered wasn't. She was
Okay.
very matter of fact and very how do I explain it? She was very direct. She knew exactly what she wanted to say when she was saying it. She called me the girl all the time. And bearing in mind, I'm you know, I'm not a young girl. I'm actually a grown woman, and to be called the girl was quite obviously demoralizing. It's like, but yeah, there was certain places within Drakelow tunnels that she would follow us about, and she would make references towards me, and she'd say, "You've been here before. You know that this is here." And it was then when I kind of sat there and thought, "There's got to be some water that's near to Drakelow tunnels." And apparently, somebody did the research and said that there is some water.
Yes.
So
I wondered if there's a campsite. I think there's links between Drakelow tunnels and a former USAF Army base. And I stayed on this campsite, which might be 2 miles away. You know that the tunnels are really long. And apparently, when some of the ground falls in, sinkholes sometimes, the military come out and sort them rather than the council. So I think there's something going in there, and there's a link to Drakelow, but there is a canal as well around there. So it's interesting around that area. It really intrigues me. But yeah, question again, Mark Reynolds. I get a lot of my experiences in the day, which tells me they're just living their life as normal. What's your opinion on this?
totally agree with you. Totally agree. You know, they're all going about their own business like we are. And, you know, chances are sometimes I always say this to people when they say, "What's a haunting?" And it's like, well, it depends. There's two separate hauntings. There's a intelligent haunting or a residual haunting. And I always say, if they're going about their business and they're interacting with you, that's intelligent. And chances are people have had experiences and they don't realize they've had experiences.
Yeah. Question from Wes Coleman then. Do you ever have aggressive spirits push other spirits out of the way when you're doing a reading? Do you ever feel threatened by these aggressive spirits or entities?
I think I've had one aggressive spirit, and that was in Draco Tunnels as well. And it was more of I wasn't doing a reading as such. It was more of a trance mediumship style, and I wasn't aware of it at the time. It was only until after I came round that I realized what had happened. But you do get dominant spirits who come through for readings who have got something to say, and they need to say it before they can move on, before they let any other spirits through. So I do tend to find that there are the dominant ones.
Yeah. So have you got a question, Alice?
Do you know my train of thoughts just went because of
No,
Bonnie?
I've just killed it.
Because of Bonnie. I'll blame Bonnie. I always blame Bonnie for everything. That's since we were sitting in hysterics one night. What, with trans mediumship, do you prefer that, Jolene, over normal mediumship?
I think I've done trance mediumship probably twice. The first time was out of my control. It was just literally, I'd seen a man in Drakelow Tunnels, and I'd followed him, obviously with my group, followed him down to this other little area. And as I went in, it was like he was stood there, and then I was like, "Where's he gone? Where's he gone?" And I turned my back to the back of the room, and all of a sudden, I was literally holding onto the chair, it was actually a table I was holding on to. I dropped to my knees and I just remember stood there looking, and I remember I could hear people saying, "Joe, are you all right?" But there was nothing coming out of my mouth. It was just like, oh my God. And I didn't feel myself. I felt really big and really grimy. And then I felt I could smell like BO and the stale smoke as well that I could smell. And I just remember after it finished, I wanted to be sick. And it was like, I don't know why that happened, but I said to, obviously Gary was there at the same time.
Yeah.
And I said to Gary, I don't feel very well now. I said, I don't want to be in here anymore. And it was like, I got this picture of him and he was all greasy faced and he got like this stubble and he got this flat cap on. And I just remember him laughing at me and he was like, "You'll never want to do trance again, will you?" And that's what he said to me. And I was like, "No, I don't want to do it just yet, but I'll find a way to be able to deal with what I need to deal with." Because when you're a medium, you have gatekeepers, you let people through. And when somebody barges into your space like that and you're not prepared for it, it knocks you off your feet. But yeah,
I can only imagine. I mean, trans mediumship really does. It's one of these subjects. I mean, obviously, I do development classes with Jacqueline, and we did a night trans mediumship, and I've just found it like dead whoa. And I've done it myself. When obviously I've been investigations. There's the whole trans mediumship. I'm fascinated with it. I'm fascinated with it all, to be honest. You know, all the how does it work, where does it come from, how does it begin, things like that. I'm really interested in.
It is, you know, trans mediumship is just a skill in itself. You know, I take my hat off to these mediums who are able to channel spirits and, you know, talk through their voices and look like them and everything. I just, you know, I'm in awe of them.
I want to do that, but I'm miles away from it. I'm mad.
But it's, I mean, obviously, like the whole, like obviously the development classes with Jacqueline, and I find the more that I've done them, the more it helps my investigation because the more stronger that I'm becoming. That's what I've found. Obviously, then like the whole letting myself, because I was quite like Jacqueline, I was quite skeptical about obviously doing it, but then the more that I've done it, the more that I've opened up. So it does help a lot when you're investigating. And I prefer now to go out without research, and I don't want to research. I might get there now with my own senses and see what I get. And by the time I do my investigation and then look after it, if I'm right, then wow, to me, it's like one of the ones.
You've got to realise everything's documented. You know, we can pick up things from the land that may not necessarily be documented anywhere. You know, and it's only when you start to dig down into like archives and birth certificates of people who previously lived there or, you know, frequented the area. It's only when that jigsaw puzzle starts to kind of piece together like a whole area of history that you've never thought about.
Yeah, I told my friends something because I picked up on a young lad and he's basically kept in a room because he was either an illegitimate child or a disabled child of the gentry. So I found this lad just locked in a room basically, and I could see him grabbing scraps from the floor. And he won't even have a birth certificate if I am right in what I've picked up. Like, I'd love another medium to come along and say that, yeah, they picked him up. And Barry John actually picked up that somebody had followed me home because I spoke to him and I acknowledged him, and I don't know if he came to my house. And it's so sad, and like it's a local hub to me, you know. I've been going there as a kid, but to think that happened in that time, which potentially it could have done, couldn't it? Because they didn't want people to know about part of the family, did they? Sometimes. So
they didn't, not back in the day, but I do, you know, even he was still there, he was still alive, wasn't he? And he still,
yeah,
you know, he still has a soul. And Even if
it was
you pick it
awful.
up now, and, you know, it's just a reminder that he was present.
Yeah, and I think he's, happy to be acknowledged, and we tried to pass him over, and the energy did change, so I don't know, but it's so sad. It really was. So I've got a question here. I think it's from Vaughn. Can you describe what it feels like, how you know when it's happening with trance?
For me, that time was just literally, it was like somebody just slammed into the back of me, and it was like a jolt. And then it was like I could see through my own eyes. I could see, but I couldn't hear it. I could hear people talking, but I couldn't communicate. It was like I wanted to say something, but there was something else there just stopping me. And I just remember like holding onto the table, and literally, I think I was sweating as well, Gary said. And I dropped to my knees. And once I dropped to my knees, all I thought was, Gran, you need to get him out. You need to get him out right now. I don't like this. Get out. You need to get out right now. And I think for me, it was more that, not panic, but it was more of I definitely don't like this. Get out now.
Yeah.
Then it was really funny actually, because another member of the group that we were with, as soon as I'd finished and I was on the ground feeling like I wanted to be sick, this person dropped to their knees and they were like heaving, like wanting to be sick as well. So that meant I knew then that there was something definitely not right in that room.
Yeah. I had a similar encounter. I didn't actually think that there were ghosts, even though I'd lived with one for a while, and I just managed to like ignore it totally, nothing happening. And yeah, I was at Matlock Pavilion in a circle, just sort of doing an energy circle. All of a sudden, I felt this little girl just sort of jumped in. She'd taken over my body right up to here. All of that was her. We're doing the hokey cokey in the energy circle. I was laughing like a hyena. I was scared to death in my head, and the head was going to my mouth to get it out of me, and I couldn't speak. And oh my God, it was horrendous. And it took me ages before I could finally speak and say, get it out of me. And that was one of my first paranormal encounters.
That's madness, isn't it?
Which is a bit similar to what you had in a way, isn't it?
Very similar, very similar.
Yeah. It's nice that somebody else has had a similar. It is mad though, isn't it? And now I want to do this.
That's what the paranormal world is about. It's about, you're going to meet other people that have had similar experiences. Like you and Jolene have both had the experience of having the spirit inside you that you just want out. And it's great when
That sounds so wrong, that Lois.
Well, this is the family show. It's 3 o'clock during the day in America. But you know what I mean.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh dear. I do know what you mean. And it's what's great about it is though, as well, is that we've all investigated so many different paranormal locations throughout the UK that chances are somebody has had the same experience that you've had there.
Definitely. I mean, I've startled a ghost. We went to a place called Needpath Castle. I was with the first ever team I was with, and when you're going back to saying obviously about people that may have not been on the like a register or would have been known, in particular this castle has quite a dark story to it, and he was a dark wizard, and obviously he had a daughter, but the daughter was never ever known. She's no registered, you'll no find her anywhere, and she had a disappearance and they didn't know how she disappeared. So when we were doing an experiment one night, my old team leader had like this machine where it almost what I say it's like the lie detector sort of thing. It sort of goes like that, but this was going like that as though it was flatline and there was nothing there. But as soon as I mentioned this girl's name, it went like that. It went crazy, as though I had startled him by saying her name. And it just amazes me. There is so much history out there. There is so much more to discover.
Have you ever been poisoned or something like that? Somebody poisoning her because she meant so much to somebody? because I get like when you spoke about that just then, I kind of felt like I got something either lodged in my throat or I was trying to cough up something, but it wasn't.
Funny you should mention that, Jolene, because the guy this team that I used to be with, he got a class A on his EVP recorder, and you can almost hear, like, obviously you can hear her screaming, but to this day I'm possessed that there was like Satanism or like obviously exorcism going on, because you can hear people chanting and it's almost like a Bible verse, but it's not in our language, if that makes sense. And it would just, even talking about it now gives me goosebumps. It's like one of those ones I would love to go back to explore.
I do feel there was something taken in the mouth that wasn't right for it. That I do feel like that, because it's making me feel sick.
Sorry, Jolene.
Okay.
That's what happens, Jolene. Just you get it. It just comes in, doesn't it, for you?
I would have loved to go back to investigate, but I tried emailing with them and they were charging one price and then charging extra on top because it was a weekend, and I said no, because it was like they were saying, yeah, because I emailed them and I said, right, how much, blah blah blah, 600 for like 6 o'clock at night. 6 o'clock at night to 3 in the morning, which I thought, great, 600, that's brilliant, that's reasonable, can't ask for better than that. Considering that I've heard that if you want the Mary's Close, it's like 3 hours for £600. So I was like, yeah, that's great. So then he was booking me. I didn't realise they had booked me in for the room. He had booked me in for like a hotel room. And then it was actually Sam that picked it up, and I was like, that, right? She says, right, we'll get it sorted. So they were like, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. So then they sent me an email back saying, yeah, for during the week it's like £600, but for at the weekend it's £800. And I just thought, no way.
I'll tell you one thing and then say something else. That's wrong.
I know, it was like, oh my god, so you're literally charging me during the week. If I wanted it for during the week, £600 fine, but 800 at the weekend. And I just thought, no, you're all right, thanks very much.
Oh. Yeah, I think, I don't know what Nikki said, because I know that the guys are in the chat room all mentioning gadgets are okay, and
yeah.
I can't go back on mine, can I?
Yeah, I'd love to do some development. Would be so much better for investigating the endless gadgets. Yeah.
I think yourself is just the best tool ever, though, isn't it? You know, your own opinions, your own, you know. I love the Estes method. You need gadgets for that.
Do.
There's always going to have to be gadgets for certain bits, and you know, it's no fun always listening to a medium go on, because that's what they're picking up, which might not necessarily be what another medium would pick up. So I always believe if you have a couple of mediums at an event, it's always good to bounce things off each of the mediums.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I've been to events where you get a medium and they're talking, oh, there's this person. I don't want to know. I want to find this out myself. And it's, you know, you don't need that. But then it's nice for a medium to be there to get the validation.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I think with you know, when people state that they are mediums and things like that. I mean, I've been to Tatton Old Hall before now, when many moons ago, before Danny took it over as the exclusivity and all the rest of it. I went there with a now defunct ghost hunting company, and there was a mother and daughter there at the time, and I just remember them both going on about this gentleman being stood on this gantry level where there's like a staircase that runs across in Tatton Old Hall, and I just remember looking and thinking, she kept saying, "Oh, can you see that man? Or he's up there on the stairwell, and he's there, and he's, you know, he's doing this, he's doing that." And I'm thinking, he's bloody not stood there. He stood right behind us, wondering what the bloody hell we're doing. That was the best thing. It was kind of like, why would you say something that isn't true when you've got people paying for that? And that is actually the same night where I met Claire Barrand.
Oh, okay. So
That's how I know Claire, and I've known Claire for years, in fact, now. And
Wow.
and it's, you know, even to this day, I'll never forget half of the things we've got in there from gadgets.
Yeah, it is great because at least with the gadgets, you know, as long as you try and debunk everything, because nothing's 100%. And, you know, as long as you know that the lights what are flashing on the K2 isn't being caused by an external influence, Wi-Fi, then, you know, you're getting some interaction and you know that. But I want to know more, you
Yeah.
know, and that's why I like the mediumship side of things.
I think that's why we all do it, though, don't we? I mean, even being
Yeah.
a medium, you don't know all the answers, and you know, you find out so much more when you're in a group of people, because people experience different things. There might be temperature fluctuations, there might be, you know, atmospheric pressure might change, and somebody might pick that up. Nobody is perfect, and nobody will gain every single piece of information on an evening.
That's right. Somebody will pick up a strange smell, a strange taste, or they might have their hair touched or something. And, you know, it's great just to put that together, isn't it?
And I think also, see, like, I hate watching myself back. I hate hearing my voice. I don't even watch these shows back because it's absolutely, I just hate everything about myself, right? But you know, I've actually like been with for paranormal footprints. You know, watching the evidence back, and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, I missed this," or "Oh, I didn't see this." You know, that helps as well, is looking back, because I find, see, when you're in your moment, there's too much going on and you're dealing with whatever's in front of you, and I think you miss the wee bits, but see, when you go back and you think to yourself, "Oh, I didn't hear that," or "Oh, that's what it said."
I always find doing like EVPs or spirit box recordings, I always find if you listen to them back afterwards, 9 times out of 10, they're already answering you intelligently through the spirit box or through EVP. And because everybody talks and everybody likes to go, "Oh, what was that?" You know, you do miss an awful lot of information, and it's always nice to be able to go back and say, "Yeah, we captured this."
Yeah, definitely.
Question from Mark Reynolds. I'm thinking of going to mediumship class. I just don't think I'm far off. Naturally, needs to keep spirits, but not much of an empath. Is it strange or not? But I went to a class. I didn't even think that mediums existed. And yeah, 7 years on, I can actually speak to spirits to some degree. So just go for it. It's brilliant.
I
What
don't
would
think
you
you need
say?
to be an empath. I think you need to have, you know, just an open mind. You know, don't put the barriers in place. You know, any sort of barriers psychologically is going to hinder your progress of what you want to do. So I just think as long as you approach something with an open mind and be open to the experiences that you will experience, then just go with it.
Yeah, Nikki says, been to events without mediums. Although we had a great time and still captured evidence, we just didn't have the validation and background to go with the evidence. And it is, isn't it? Whatever you get, you just want more. And once
Yeah.
you've been to those initial events where you get the flashing cat ball, which actually is one of my favourite gadgets, I would say it always goes off around me. Like I went to Stoke at the weekend and it flashed once, but it still flashed. Usually you can have a conversation with a cat ball. It's mad, but I love him.
I must admit, I was quite sceptical about cat balls. I actually laughed at the prospect of the gadget being a cat ball. I actually did laugh, but then I've actually grown to like them.
Yeah. What do you think of cat balls, Angeli?
I don't have any in my kit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Everybody usually brings them anyway, but I just think they are so sensitive, and I think sometimes just even the slightest atmosphere pressure or something like that will just set them off. So I'm still, even though I'm a medium, I'm still quite skeptical, and I like to debunk things. So
that's right. Yeah, that's the way you've got to be within paranormal, isn't it?
Definitely. And it's like Mark's just said as well, power of suggestion is used by a lot of people, not just mediums. It's, you know, you walk into a building that you know is from Tudor, you know, automatically somebody's going to go, oh, I can see a Tudor man. And it's like,
Oh, no.
come on, you know, give us something different.
Yeah, you've got 20 people holding hands at a ghost hunt, public event. Oh, it feels cold in here. I feel a draft. Oh, I feel a draft. Oh.
Someone's like back door open.
Yes, that's well.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's winter. It's Grizzly Hall and the windows are open.
That was really funny, actually. We went to the Sheffield Fire Museum.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
Oh, my God. I remember setting up our 360 camera inside the cell, in cell number, hang on, which one was it? There's 2 cells there, and it was in the first cell. And I thought Gemma was behind me because there's a mannequin just outside of the door there. And I just remember it being pitch black because she'd turned the torch off, but she'd buggered off. She'd like walked down the corridor and went back to other people. And literally, we got a first-time group of young lads who'd never done a ghost hunt before, and one of them was petrified. And literally, I stood there, and somebody grabbed hold of my arm, like to march me back into the cell. And I thought it was Gemma, and I went, Gemma, give up. You know, it's dark. Don't be scaring people. And I switched my torch on my phone, and there was nobody there.
Oh no!
Wow.
And I think I did do an Yvette Fielding. I think I screamed.
Yeah, I've done that before.
I've done it myself. I'll hold my hands
They slip out, don't they?
Oh,
I think with the village in Mansfield, I scared a ghost. We're standing there in the alien room, and all of a sudden there's this black shadow, and it was there right next door to me, and it made me scream because it was like, you know. So I screamed. All of a sudden the REM pod went off as it left it. But I said, "Oh, you saw a shadow? Well, you know, why did that REM pod go off then?" It's mad. But yeah, how you can see a shadow in the dark, I don't know, but you do, don't you?
There is shadow people though at the village, and we had one inside. I don't know what room it was, but as you went down the stairs and it had all of the floral matting and things like that, it was mad. You could see somebody poking his head out every 5 minutes, like looking to see if we were still there. What did Nikki just say then? Cat ball at the Golden
Fleece. I'm staying there soon. Cat ball at the Golden Fleece in York was the best. It rolled out from under the bed, stopped, lit up, and then shot towards us.
That place is amazing anyways, the Golden Fleece.
I'm spending 3 nights there.
You'll have to let me know when, because it's
honestly... Got to take out a mortgage, but yeah, I'm going to be doing lives and stuff.
So nice.
If we can get reception, question mark, can you get reception? I don't know.
You should be able to, yeah. I think they've got Wi-Fi in there. I don't think they're that oldie worldy.
Oh, it's an amazing place. And I went upstairs and we sort of have a meal, and like, the floors are like this, aren't they? And oh dear, it's all a bit topsy-turvy itself.
Just even when you sat opposite, they've got some like church pews next to the toilets as well, and you feel like you're drunk before you've even walked down them because of that.
Yeah, I was feeling dizzy in that area just walking along there. But yeah, I think I heard talking in the toilets as well, the ladies' toilets as well. It's like as if there's a conversation when I was in there and nobody was about. So I hope this person takes care. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's bad when it keeps coming up Facebook user because people keep, allowing everything. Oh, it's Robert. Take care, Robert.
There's one saying I'm off for a Tika. I think that's
yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Hiya. Yeah, but it's been brilliant. What are you going to be doing then? What are you up to now? You've got your nights booked. Anything else coming up?
Yeah, I think I'm going to start getting back out there and investigating, I think. So You know, I'm lucky that I know quite a few paranormal teams, so I can go out with those guys and investigate and basically just literally just get some more big events underway and get some more. I wouldn't mind doing a theatre, I think, or hosting a weekend somewhere, and that'd be really nice to do. Just somewhere in you know, with intimate friends, and you know, just go and investigate. You know, not as a paranormal team, but as a group of friends rather than, you know, a paranormal team. But yeah, I think that's what's coming up in the pipeline at the moment, and yeah, there's an awful lot happening, I think. Ask me again in 3 months' time, I might be able to divulge a little bit more.
Oh, wow. Yeah, bless you. It's early days, isn't it, really? You're sort of booking your events, and yeah, brilliant that you're nearly booked up. See you, Ross. Take care.
Yeah, enjoy your tikka, Ross. Cheeky.
Yeah, I'm sitting here actually quite hungry now.
Yeah, I think, tikka all things.
I'm stood here and I'm looking at a huge feast that my other half's ordered, because obviously the incident with the slow cooker earlier.
Yeah.
So he's ordered food, and it's probably taken about an hour and a half to get here. And it's just stood there looking at me on the table, and I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
When you're talking about obviously your other half, is your other half skeptical?
Very.
Do you know, I got that impression earlier on when you were speaking that he's very, very skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He says he wants to experience certain things on his own, but he's the one that kind of keeps me grounded and lets me question things and things like that. So he is very methodical in how he thinks. So he, you know, if I say to him, well, what about this? How would you, he actually thinks about it, and he actually says, well, it could be this or it could be that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right there. It could be. But then again,
yeah, but I'm like that. You know, I'll push it to the nth degree. It could be this, that, and you do, but sometimes you can't explain, can you?
No, you can't.
That's what we love.
Well, I must admit, my partner, he's very skeptical as well. He is, but he's actually starting to slowly come to it. But I don't see him being an investigation on with me this year.
Mark's been on a couple of investigations. I took him to East Drive.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I took him to East Drive. That was eventful, because there was some guy there in like a Matrix style leather jacket who was talking to Mark like Mark knew exactly what he was talking about. And Mark was like, no, I don't know what that is. What does it do? And he was telling him all about it. And I'm just stood in the back, kind of like shrugging my shoulders, like giggling a little bit. And then this kid, bless him, just threw this REM pod in the middle of the room, and he went, watch this. And it was like, he was so proud of himself. And Mark was just like, if that's supposed to be the most haunted house ever, he said, I'll bet my backside So yeah, so it's, you know, he is good like that, really. And he's been to the George Jarvis School as well.
I want to go there. I still want to go.
It is amazing. It's so good. But we do like visiting castles, but just during the day and just having a look around, you know, all the Welsh castles like Chirk and Beaumaris.
Oh, that's beautiful, Beaumaris.
I just love the Welsh coast. I just think it's absolutely stunning. So
yeah, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So I wish you luck anyway. You've got a page, haven't you? So
I have. Yeah. So my page is I can't even remember what it's called.
We'll add a link afterwards, won't we? You've got your public page anyway.
Now I've got my public page, which is my psychic medium page. I'm also doing a pop-up live tomorrow, which is going to entail a couple of free readings and bringing people on and doing some readings for them between 7 and 8 tomorrow. So that's going to be quite nice to do. Just I haven't done one for a while, so I thought, you know, it's coming up to a full moon, so why not expel this lunar energy for the wolf moon?
Because I know who you're doing it with as well.
Sorry?
It's Gary, isn't it? Yeah, that'd be absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. So next Friday is the Wrexham night, which I'm really excited for.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's going to be fantastic. So thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for your time. It's been brilliant, and I hope
Thanks,
to meet
Joey.
you again soon because I haven't seen you for so long. It's mad.
No, let's not stay too long next time.
Oh, definitely. I've got to sort something out. So next week we've got Penny Griffiths Morgan, and the week after we've got Kerry Greenaway. But thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching, and
Thanks, everyone.
look after yourselves. Thank you. Cheers, Jolene.
See you all
Thank
later.
Thank you.